Most people believe that wealth belongs to those who work the hardest. It sounds reasonable. It feels fair. But if that were true, the richest people in the world would be construction workers, farmers, factory employees, and those who spend every waking hour exchanging effort for money. Instead, reality tells a completely different story. Every day, millions of people wake up early, work long hours, return home exhausted, and repeat the same routine for decades, yet financial freedom never arrives. At the same time, a much smaller group continues to build wealth at a pace that seems almost impossible. They are not working 100 times harder, but somehow they are producing 100 times greater results. The question is not whether they possess more talent or intelligence. The real question is whether they understand something that everyone else has been taught to ignore. More than 2,000 years ago, Plato warned that most people spend their lives trapped inside an illusion, accepting what they see on the surface without ever questioning whether a greater truth exists beyond it. In his famous allegory of the cave, prisoners believed the shadows on the wall represented reality because those shadows were all they had ever known. They never imagined that an entirely different world existed just outside their field of vision. Today, the cave still exists. Only the shadows have changed. The modern illusion tells you that if you want more money, you simply need to work more hours, take more overtime, and sacrifice more of your life. Society praises busyness as if it were the highest form of success. But Plato would ask a different question. What if the thing everyone believes is actually the very illusion keeping them trapped? What if the greatest obstacle to wealth is not a lack of effort, but a misunderstanding of how wealth is actually created? The truth is that every wealthy person eventually discovers a principle that most people never recognize. They stop asking, "How can I work harder?" and begin asking, "How can my work continue creating value long after I stop working?" That single shift changes everything. It changes how you think, how you make decisions, how you spend your time, and ultimately how you build your future. This hidden principle has a name. It is called leverage. Most people hear that word and immediately think about investing or borrowing money, but real leverage is much deeper than that. It is the ability to multiply the results of a single action. It is the difference between pushing a rock with your own hands and using a machine powerful enough to move an entire mountain. One depends only on effort. The other depends on intelligence. Throughout history, every civilization that achieved extraordinary progress understood leverage, whether they realized it or not. Every great invention, every successful business, every powerful system was built on the idea of multiplying human effort instead of simply increasing it. Yet most people never learn this principle because they are too busy surviving inside the system to question how the system actually works. By the end of this video, you will begin seeing money through an entirely different lens. You will understand why some people remain trapped no matter how hard they work, while others quietly build wealth that continues growing year after year. More importantly, you will discover why Plato's philosophy remains one of the most powerful guides for understanding financial freedom in the modern world. But before you can build leverage, you must first destroy one dangerous belief that has controlled human thinking for generations. From childhood, we are taught a simple equation: work equals money. Study hard, find a secure job, work consistently, and eventually success will follow. At first glance, the formula appears logical because effort usually produces results. If you study, your grades improve. If you practice a skill, you become better. If you work, you receive a paycheck. But there is one important detail that almost nobody notices. Every part of this equation depends entirely on your continued presence. The moment you stop working, the rewards stop growing. Your income is tied directly to your time. This creates an invisible prison. At first, the prison feels comfortable because it provides stability, but as the years pass, its walls become impossible to ignore. There are only 24 hours in a day. Your energy has limits. Your health has limits. Your lifespan has limits. If your financial future depends entirely on selling pieces of your time, then your wealth will always remain limited by the same clock that governs everyone else. Plato believed that true wisdom begins when we question the assumptions that everyone else accepts without thinking. Most people never question the relationship between time and money because they have never been shown another possibility. Just like the prisoners inside the cave, they mistake the shadow for reality. Imagine two people beginning their careers on the exact same day. Both are intelligent, both are disciplined, both work equally hard. The first person continues selling time for money every year. The second spends part of that same time creating something that can continue producing value without requiring constant effort. During the first few years, there may be almost no visible difference between them. In fact, the first person might even earn more because they focus entirely on immediate income. But then something remarkable begins to happen. The system created by the second person starts producing results independently. Perhaps it is a business. Perhaps it is digital content. Perhaps it is software, investments, intellectual property, or another valuable asset. Whatever form it takes, it no longer depends completely on the creator's daily presence. Now the gap begins to widen. Not because one person suddenly became smarter, but because one person discovered multiplication while the other remained trapped inside addition. This is one of the most important ideas in wealth creation. Hard work grows linearly. Leverage grows exponentially. Linear growth always demands more effort for more results. Exponential growth allows previous effort to keep generating future rewards. This is why two people with similar intelligence can experience completely different financial lives over the course of 20 years. The difference is rarely effort. The difference is structure. Plato believed that beneath every visible outcome lies an invisible cause. If you wish to change your life, you must first understand the hidden structure producing your current results. Wealth is no different. The paycheck is only the visible outcome. The system generating that paycheck is the invisible cause. Until you understand the system, changing the outcome becomes nearly impossible. Most people spend their entire lives trying to increase the size of their paycheck without ever questioning the structure producing it. They negotiate for raises, switch companies, work overtime, or search for higher-paying jobs. These actions may increase income temporarily, but they rarely change the underlying system. The dependence on time remains exactly the same. Plato would argue that this is like trying to make the shadows inside the cave brighter instead of walking toward the light itself. The appearance changes, but the reality does not. True financial freedom begins only when you stop asking how to earn more from your time and begin asking how to create value that exists independently of it. That question marks the beginning of a completely different way of thinking. This is where leverage enters the picture, not as a financial trick or a complicated business strategy, but as one of the most powerful principles governing success in every area of life. At its core, leverage means achieving greater results without increasing effort in the same proportion. Imagine pushing a heavy object across the ground using only your hands. Progress is slow, exhausting, and limited by your physical strength. Now imagine placing a long bar beneath that same object. Suddenly, the exact same person can move something many times heavier with far less effort. The person has not changed. The strength has not changed. Only the method has changed. This simple idea transformed civilizations. It allowed people to build monuments, transport enormous stones, create machines, and eventually develop technologies capable of multiplying human productivity beyond anything previous generations could imagine. The same principle applies to wealth. The wealthy do not simply work. They build methods that allow 1 hour of effort to produce many hours of value. Plato constantly emphasized that wisdom is the ability to recognize the deeper patterns hidden beneath ordinary appearances. Leverage is one of those patterns. Once you see it, you begin noticing it everywhere. A teacher speaking to 30 students uses leverage because one explanation reaches many minds. An author writes one book that educates millions over decades. A software developer creates one application that serves users across the entire world. A content creator records one video that continues attracting viewers years after it was first published. In every case, the initial effort remains finite while the results continue expanding. That is the quiet power of leverage. Most people never notice it because they are conditioned to value activity over effectiveness. They admire the person who appears busiest instead of the person whose systems quietly produce extraordinary outcomes. Plato would likely smile at this irony because it perfectly reflects the difference between appearance and reality that he described centuries ago. In Part 2, we'll uncover the 5 forms of leverage that quietly create extraordinary wealth, why modern education rarely teaches them, and how you can begin applying them even if you're starting with nothing. If leverage is one of the greatest principles behind wealth, an obvious question follows. Why doesn't everyone use it? Why do millions of intelligent, hardworking people spend decades exchanging their time for money without ever building lasting financial freedom? The answer has very little to do with intelligence, talent, or even opportunity. It begins much earlier, with the way we are taught to think. Plato believed that every society shapes the minds of its citizens long before they are old enough to question the beliefs they inherit. Most people never choose their financial philosophy. They simply absorb it from parents, schools, workplaces, and the culture around them. They are taught how to earn, but rarely how to own. They learn how to become valuable employees, but almost never how to build valuable assets. By the time they enter adulthood, the habit of trading time for money feels so normal that questioning it seems almost impossible. Think about the questions children are usually asked. What job do you want when you grow up? Very rarely are they asked, what system do you want to build? Or what problem do you want to solve for millions of people? The focus is almost always on employment rather than ownership. There is nothing wrong with having a job. A job can provide experience, discipline, and financial stability. But if earning an income is the final destination instead of the starting point, the opportunity to build leverage slowly disappears. Plato believed that education should awaken the mind, not simply prepare it to follow routines. True education teaches a person to recognize patterns, question assumptions, and search for deeper truths. Financial education should do exactly the same. This brings us to the first form of leverage, skill. Every valuable asset begins with a valuable skill. Before someone builds a successful business, writes a best-selling book, develops software, or creates content that reaches millions, they first develop an ability that other people find useful. A skill is the seed from which leverage grows. Unfortunately, many people stop after learning the skill. They continue selling it 1 hour at a time for years. The wealthier approach is different. They ask a better question. How can this skill continue creating value without requiring my constant presence? That single question changes the direction of an entire career. Imagine 2 graphic designers with equal talent. One spends every day completing projects for individual clients. The other spends time creating templates, digital products, online courses, or a design business that allows others to contribute. Both are skilled. Both work hard. But one remains dependent on the next client, while the other slowly builds assets that can continue generating income long after the original work has been completed. The difference is not the skill itself. The difference is leverage. The second form of leverage is technology. Never before in history has one person been able to reach millions of people with so little cost. A single video, a digital product, a website, or an application can continue serving people across the world every hour of every day. Plato often reminded us that tools are valuable only when guided by wisdom. Technology itself does not create wealth. It amplifies the thinking behind it. If your thinking is limited, technology multiplies limited results. If your thinking is built on solving meaningful problems, technology allows that solution to spread farther than your own physical effort ever could. This is why the internet has become one of the greatest leverage tools in history. It allows knowledge to travel while you sleep. It allows ideas to continue working long after they are created. A teacher no longer needs to stand inside one classroom. An entrepreneur no longer needs one physical store. A creator no longer depends on one audience in one city. Technology removes many of the traditional limits on scale. The question is no longer whether leverage exists. The question is whether you are choosing to use it. The third form of leverage is attention. Every successful business first earns attention before it earns revenue. Without attention, even the greatest ideas remain invisible. Plato understood that what captures the human mind ultimately shapes human action. In today's world, attention has become one of the most valuable resources on earth. Companies compete for it. Creators compete for it. Brands invest billions to earn it. But attention by itself has no lasting value unless it is connected to something meaningful. Chasing views without building trust creates temporary success. Building trust first allows attention to become an asset instead of a passing moment. This is why consistency matters. Every article you write, every video you publish, every lesson you teach becomes another piece of a larger system. One piece may seem insignificant. 10 pieces create momentum. 100 pieces begin creating authority. Over time, your work compounds. Most people underestimate this because they judge today's effort by today's results. Plato would encourage a different perspective. Judge today's effort by the person you are becoming and the system you are creating. The fourth form of leverage is capital. Many people believe money creates wealth, but money is only a tool. Capital becomes powerful when it is invested into assets that continue producing value. Imagine planting a tree instead of repeatedly buying fruit. At first, planting the tree appears slower because there is no immediate reward. But as the years pass, the tree continues producing while the person who only bought fruit must keep paying again and again. This is how assets work. They require patience in the beginning and reward patience in the future. One of the greatest mistakes people make is increasing their lifestyle every time their income increases. More income leads to more expenses, leaving very little available to build assets. The result is a cycle where income grows but freedom does not. Plato believed that wisdom includes self-control. Financially, self-control means resisting the temptation to consume everything today so that your resources can build something greater tomorrow. The final form of leverage is people. This does not mean using others unfairly. It means learning how to work together toward a shared purpose. Every great achievement in history required cooperation. Businesses grow because teams combine different strengths. Scientific discoveries accelerate because knowledge is shared. Progress multiplies when capable people contribute toward the same vision. Leadership itself is a form of leverage because it allows one person's direction to guide the efforts of many. Notice what all 5 forms of leverage have in common. None of them require superhuman intelligence. None of them depend on luck. They begin with a change in perspective. Instead of asking, "How can I do more?" they ask, "How can this continue creating value after I'm finished?" That question transforms work into systems, systems into assets, and assets into lasting wealth. Yet even after understanding these ideas, many people still hesitate. Fear tells them they need perfect timing. Doubt tells them they need more experience. Comfort tells them to wait one more year. But waiting has a hidden cost. Every year spent delaying the creation of assets is another year those assets could have been growing. Compounding rewards those who begin, not those who endlessly prepare. Plato believed that every meaningful transformation begins inside the mind before it appears in the outside world. Financial freedom follows the same principle. The first investment is not money. It is a different way of thinking. Once your thinking changes, your decisions change. Your habits change. Eventually, your results change as well. But there is still one final question. Even after understanding leverage, where should someone actually begin? Should they build a business, create content, invest, develop a skill, or focus somewhere else entirely? Without a clear order, many people become overwhelmed and never take action. In the final part of this series, we will build Plato's complete blueprint for creating leverage from the ground up. A practical framework designed to help you move from earning income to building lasting wealth. One deliberate step at a time. Understanding leverage is valuable, but understanding alone changes nothing. Knowledge has the power to transform a life only when it becomes action. Plato believed that wisdom is not measured by what a person knows, but by how they choose to live. A person may understand every principle of wealth, yet remain trapped if those principles never influence their daily decisions. This is where the journey truly begins. The question is no longer, what is leverage? The question becomes, how do I build it? The first step is to become exceptionally useful. Every lasting fortune begins by solving a meaningful problem. Before thinking about money, think about value. Ask yourself what skill you can develop that makes another person's life easier, faster, safer, or more enjoyable. The marketplace rewards usefulness far more consistently than effort. A person who creates enormous value will always have greater opportunities than someone who simply works harder at tasks that can easily be replaced. Plato believed that excellence comes through continuous practice, not occasional inspiration. Every day you improve a valuable skill, you increase the foundation upon which leverage can later be built. The second step is to stop thinking only in terms of income and begin thinking in terms of assets. Income pays today's expenses. Assets create tomorrow's freedom. Every hour you spend building something that can continue producing value after the work is finished is an investment in your future self. A book, a business, educational content, software, a digital product, or a carefully managed investment portfolio all share one characteristic. They continue serving people long after the original effort has been completed. Instead of asking, how much can I earn this month? Begin asking, what can I create this month that will still provide value years from now? That single question gradually shifts your attention from temporary rewards to lasting results. The third step is to embrace the power of consistency. Many people underestimate what steady progress can accomplish because they expect dramatic results in a short period of time. Nature follows a different pattern. A tree does not become strong overnight. It grows through thousands of small moments that seem insignificant when viewed individually. Wealth often follows the same rhythm. One article rarely changes a career. One investment rarely creates financial independence. One business decision rarely transforms a life. But hundreds of thoughtful actions, repeated with patience and purpose, create outcomes that appear extraordinary only to those who did not witness the quiet process behind them. This is the hidden force of compounding. Every improvement strengthens the next improvement. Every lesson makes the following lesson easier to understand. Every asset provides resources that can help build another asset. At first, progress appears almost invisible. Then momentum begins to develop. Eventually, the results seem to accelerate. Many people mistake this acceleration for luck, when in reality it is the natural consequence of years spent building beneath the surface. Plato often reminded his students that reality extends far beyond what can be seen in the present moment. Compounding is one of the clearest examples of this principle. The most important growth is often invisible until enough time has passed. The fourth step is to protect your attention. Attention is one of the few resources that every human being receives equally at the beginning of each day. Where you direct it determines what you learn, what you build, and ultimately who you become. In a world filled with endless distractions, protecting your attention becomes a competitive advantage. Every unnecessary distraction steals time from creating something meaningful. Every hour invested in learning, improving, or building strengthens your future leverage. Plato believed that the disciplined mind is capable of seeing truths that remain hidden from those constantly distracted by appearances. Financial success follows a similar pattern. Those who control their attention are better prepared to control their future. The fifth step is to think beyond yourself. Many people believe wealth is created by taking. Lasting wealth is created by giving value at scale. The entrepreneur serves customers. The teacher serves students. The inventor serves society through innovation. The creator serves an audience by sharing ideas that educate, inspire, or solve problems. The greater the number of people your work helps, the greater the opportunity for leverage. Instead of asking, how can I make more money? Ask, how can I help more people? Money often follows value, but value always begins with service. Perhaps the greatest obstacle on this journey is not a lack of opportunity. It is impatience. Modern culture encourages immediate rewards. It celebrates quick results while overlooking the quiet years required to build meaningful achievements. Plato understood that lasting excellence demands patience because the strongest foundations are rarely visible. A building rises only after its foundation has been carefully prepared. Likewise, financial freedom is usually the result of hundreds of ordinary decisions made consistently over many years. Every skill learned, every asset created, every wise investment, and every disciplined choice contributes to a future that cannot yet be seen. As we reach the end of this discussion, return once more to Plato's allegory of the cave. The prisoners believed the shadows represented reality because they had never experienced anything else. In our own time, many people remain convinced that exchanging time for money is the only path available. They accept this belief because it is familiar, not because it is true. The moment you begin understanding leverage, you take your first step outside that cave. You begin seeing possibilities that were always present but rarely noticed. You recognize that wealth is not built through endless effort alone. It is built by creating systems, assets, and value that continue working long after the initial effort has ended. This realization does not guarantee instant success. There will still be challenges, mistakes, and lessons that only experience can teach. But your direction changes completely. Instead of spending your life running faster on the same path, you begin building a different path altogether. Every decision starts serving a larger vision. Every action becomes part of a system rather than an isolated task. Over time, those systems begin producing results that no amount of additional effort alone could ever achieve. Remember this simple idea whenever you think about wealth. Effort creates movement. Leverage creates multiplication. Both are important, but only one has the power to free your future. Plato encouraged every student to seek truth beyond appearances. In the modern world, one of those truths is that financial freedom is not earned hour by hour. It is built decision by decision, asset by asset, and year by year. If this perspective challenged the way you think about money, then your journey has already begun. Every video on this channel is designed to explore Plato's timeless principles and apply them to the challenges of modern life. If you want to continue discovering how ancient wisdom can help you build greater clarity, stronger discipline, and lasting prosperity, subscribe and join us for the next lesson. The greatest transformations rarely begin with dramatic moments. They begin with a single new way of seeing the world, and once you see it clearly, you can never return to the shadows in quite the same way again.